Welcome to the film analysis, today with One Piece, currently one of the most popular Netflix series. One Piece is a live-action film adaptation of a manga which has had unparalleled success in umpteen countries. Ishiro Oda started drawing the manga in the 90s, resulting in about 1,000 chapters as of today. One Piece incorporates an entire universe. The manga volumes are now being published in editions of millions, a phenomenon you can hardly get past. Frankly, I don't have any idea at all about the One Piece universe. I only concentrate on the series and have suffered 8 hellish hours watching it. My brain has been rendered mush. I don't even know if I'll be able to watch a film in the next few days and whether art affects me in the foreseeable future. One Piece represents such unbearable, shrill, garish, noisy hokum, it's hard to fathom. Surprisingly, many critics consider it a live-action adaptation of an anime series that has finally succeeded. You don't even want to know what it looked like before. But this is already unbearable. What is One Piece about? Well, it's hard to say. Broadly speaking, there's a gentleman called Gold Roger who was sentenced to death. He was a pirate, but he had hidden treasure that was never found. Even at his execution, he will not reveal where the treasure is. In doing so, he starts a revolution. Suddenly, everyone wants to become a pirate. The execution does not deter the adventurers to be whatsoever. They seem desperate to hunt this treasure. And suddenly the world society divides into pirates and navy people. So the navy are more in favor of a monopoly on the use of force, while the pirates as entrepreneurs chase after the treasure and try to keep to a code of honor. But that's all. We follow Monkey D. Ruffy on this treasure hunt, a young man, somewhat mad, brash, a bit simple-minded, but somehow likable. Ruffy has left his village community to find this treasure. In his childhood days, he once ate a devil fruit and has had a rubber body capable of all sorts of things since an adventure. His good friend Kobe decides to join the navy. They part ways. Monkey D. Ruffy is on his own, but he soon meets many others who either search for the treasure with him or stand in his way. One Piece applies incredibly fast cuts and in fights even body cams. Either way, the camera is constantly moving. We don't see counter shot or something like this, but immediately the camera starts panning back and forth again, or it zooms in, zooms out. You can't concentrate on anything. You can't let your gaze rest anywhere. Thus, constituting the series principle, one is driven on and on until at some point these unbearable 8 hours are finally over. It would also take about 8 hours to summarize the plot, a principle known from trashy literature. It merges trivial plot motives, effects and second-hand emotions. Of course, there were already trivial novels in the 18th, in the 19th, in the 20th centuries. The genre does not have to die out, but some things have changed in the evaluation of this trivial literature. The boundaries between trivial and high culture have become blurred. It's the same with films and series. As soon as people enjoy it, even the last nonsense packed into an 8-hour lasting series seems to be justified. Criteria to evaluate the good and the bad have ceased to exist. It's completely stupid trivial literature or a trivial series. We have reached the level of a soap opera where one thing is continually strung together with another and linked in flashbacks, with each character receiving his backstory, constantly surprising viewers. That's why every character is developed in this way. It's terrible to watch, partly because One Piece has no style anywhere. This series is simply garish. The color scheme oscillates between smartphone games and all sorts of fantasy kerfuffle, but nothing of its own emerges from it. It would be no problem at all if one were to commission an AI to generate these images. You feed the AI with everything pop culture has to offer. The AI delivers pirates with straw hats or green hair, fish people and Joker-like clowns, manga boys and girls in Pirates of the Caribbean costumes come out of it. It's arbitrary where you look, and it's incomprehensible how One Piece generates such hype. The trailer on its own should suffice the refrain from these 8 hours of non-aesthetic. It's a series sometimes revealing how stupidly constructed it is, namely the character Lysop, also a pirate, boasting about himself, tending to embellish stories. In episode 3, he meets Kaya, quite the rich woman who employs a strange butler. He hands her a giant pearl, as he calls it. You could also say an egg. He tells the story of how he got this giant pearl that once belonged to a giant goldfish monster, and so on. At some point, he is interrupted, but that's exactly One Piece's core, mere associating. What could come next? Maybe fish people, maybe a pirate again, then someone from the Navy. What if the person opposing the Navy finds out that the one naval officer is his uncle? And of course, this series must and can have no end because it keeps falling apart. That's how every soap opera works. There's nothing compelling driving the story forward. There's no message of any kind. You just keep going as long as you are successful. One Piece establishes this very cycle at the latest in the second episode. It hops onto an island, something happens, and it's concluded. Soon the next character comes along, setting something in motion again. It leads to a ship, and further to a restaurant, and so on and so forth. Without creating any stylistic identity, the show also merges pop culture of any kind unbearable. In Kaya's Villa, it resembles a BBC Jane Austen film adaptation, elsewhere Alice in Wonderland, or are we perhaps in the Addams Family after all? The butler has scissor hands. You can't really tell whether it's Edward or Freddy Krueger. It all goes on and produces, one could say, well, a tremendous variety, but with simultaneous homogeneity. One Piece practices the one-dimensionality of feelings. People react to everything the way they react to something in pop culture, with wide eyes, with a mischievous smile, with a laugh that you have seen 100 times before. One Piece repeats the same thing, but with a new coat of paint. In episode 4, the group suddenly wants to move on. But Ruffy realizes we can't go on without a ship. And Kaya looks at him and says, yes, we do now. And she gives them a ship. And the series shows us happy and surprised faces, as we've seen a million times before in situations like this. One anticipates the jokes. Take the operation in episode 6. A guy operates and demands strong alcohol. Ah, you are going to disinfect the wound with that? No, I need it. And he drinks the booze to do the operation. The joke stems from 30s westerns and is continually brought into this trivial culture what is it all about anyway? Is there any message at all? Yes, apparently the series is about following your dreams and not letting others lead you astray. Well, that's as right as it is wrong, or as trivial as the whole series itself. Everything is crammed in here and told in fast forward. So much is happening. There's a quick Robinsonade told in a flashback, and we are back in the present in episode 8. Indiana Jones is blithely quoted, and Lysop and Pax, another story around the campfire, tells how magnificently heroic he acted, and he goes on, and in doing so he unintentionally reveals the series' insanity and idiocy. At the end, one character whom we have followed for a long time says to another character whom we have also followed for a long time, "You put me to the test. Couldn't you have said that directly?" The characters are related, as is revealed, and the other replies, "Where's the fun in that?" But that's the question. You can't find any fun at all. This dialogue sheds light on the senselessness once more. It's not about telling anything at all because it must be told, but one makes an incredible number of pirouettes and detours to have fun somehow. But there is no fun to it. In fact, watching One Piece renders one deranged and crushed. This trash doesn't allow for any analytical approach at all because no thought is possible. Immediately one jumps on, immediately something new is told, but it is completely irrelevant. Formlessness shapes One Piece. A formlessness perhaps best described by Bertolt Brecht's Pimp's Ballad from the Three Penny Opera. Es geht auch anders, doch so geht es auch. One could do it in another way, but this way works too. The quote refers to an economy built on misery. A prostitute and a pimp sing the ballad. One could do it in another way, but this way works too. Brecht describes not only a relationship of exploitation, but muddling through during economic misery. This muddling through or muddling on characterizes our time. People just get on with it. Somehow we may or may not be heading for a catastrophe, but somehow it will be all right. We have thus arrived at a time confusing and strung together to a degree, no longer producing any form at all. A postmodern age. Postmodernism deconstructed modernity, referred very much to form while constituting new form. It was not simply anything goes. A qualitative postmodern art always achieved more, but now in postmodernism, this franchise culture merely continues everywhere. So-called modern art also suffers from it. Its second or third-rate artists make a fortune with mediocre images. They paint pictures of luxury cars with Popeye or Scrooge McDuck, and some other icons of Western consumer brands like Chanel or Louis Vuitton at it. And it's, you can say, Andy Warhol's nightmare. You have patches and fragments everywhere. Everything is somehow put on the canvas. There is a recognition value rendering objects sellable. It's the same with One Piece. You put in everything known, stir it up, and then finally sell it as a new product. A patchwork structure sewing together various scraps of felt silk and leather and somehow forming a blanket. For app and social media design, corporations employ psychologists. They are supposed to lure users and make them stay as long as possible, even leading to addiction. Therefore, TikTok and Instagram excel in wasting our time, as does One Piece. The Netflix show covers nothing and everything. You won't remember exactly what you watched at the end, but you'll have wasted 8 hours. Its fan culture is very much characterized by the question, what happens next? And somehow it manages to always continue with an open structure and form. What's next, however, is the least interesting question, carrying no artistic meaning. One should be hooked by its form, content and the message. Only that justifies a certain length. Nothing against long series, films, novels, but they are supposed to compel and not only provide binge material as one sticks to TikTok or Instagram. Otherwise, we are entering the soap opera sphere. In the meantime, addictive has become a compliment, whether it concerns computer games or a TV series. Addiction, however, means losing sovereignty. In consequence, we watch but don't see. It would be nice if you would like to support the film analysis financially. You can do so via my bank account or PayPal. Also, you can find me on Patreon. Thank you very much.